Hey everyone, I'm S66, and welcome to Plotting and Scheming, a Grand Arena-focused podcast centered around the top 100 in Kyber 1 for Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. I'm joined by most of the regular team here. DJ, Sasha, Aisha, and Fatal here are, joining us today. Dagger couldn't make it. He is recovering in the hospital, scheduled surgery. Everything went well. We wish him all the best. He should be fine. We were just speaking to him a few minutes ago. He's in good hands. But yes, gentlemen, as far as the week went for me, it was 2-1. I had a match round one against Aesop, and I lost still handily, like week one, but at least I managed to clear the board, and it's a moral victory. I chose to interpret it as such. And Erodium round two made things boring, and then round three, a great match versus Michael. I cleared him without drops the whole way through. And by the time he cleared my board, he had no drops on ground, got to fleet, saw that I set triple meta, and he was saving triple meta. Told me he didn't think he saw a way to actually get the banner average he knew he would need to get the win. But came back in later with just a couple hours left on the clock and scored a tie with me. If it weren't for the fact that I was the bigger account, I would have been surprise sunk. Would have been pissed. But yes, it was 2-1. TJ, how about you?
I laughed at that, man. So yeah, I was a sad bird. I went 2-1, and then my round three, playing a lesser GP opponent, he played it the right way. So I wasn't mad at the player for doing it because it was a strategy. But the 100% shit failed, which I F-bomb hate. We'll leave it there. It's like that. So like the RNG pulled out surprise Tusk or Gungans dropped to the Darth Revan. And you're talking with the right setup, with the right stuff, exactly the same thing, dropped. And then against Balin. So it's like I made one choice of God and it made the impact, but it's like the RNG factor. So it's those things you hate where it's like, this is 100%. No, asshole. Take the 15% and then double it because it's my luck in GAC. And that's where we get. But I'm not bitter, you're bitter.
Yeah, no. Who among us has not been there? All right. Sasha, Aisha, how about you? How'd the week go?
It was a mixed week, 1 and 2, but it really all sort of, and that was with an Erodium. So really, like, 0 and 2 from a legit perspective, and it all. I feel like my sliding doors moment was in my match against Rockstar. We both set good Ds, and I went through the entire thing smoothly, not a single drop, all the way to the very last battle. And because I hadn't dropped anything, I had probably the squad I was facing was Dooku, Star Killer, and like Ninth Sister. And I think I had like 5 legit options to one shot, and I would have gotten a win. I went for some reason for door number 6, and I dropped that. And then I could have followed up with one of those. I'd followed right away with like something else and one shot it. But lost on banners for that one drop. And then the last match was fun. That was Aesop and I matched up again for the final match of the week. And that was a fun, good experience. I set a front wall that included 6 GLs. It included Seer, Malicos, and Star Killer. And I just kind of wanted to, stimulate some creative counters and stuff, and we both threw stuff out there, and he won that comfortably on banners, but I it could have been much closer, but I ended up testing some stuff, and it was fun. Yeah, it was an adventure, but the whole week could have been different if I hadn't screwed up that one in round 2.
Fair enough. Yep. Fatal, how was the master plan this week? How did things go? I didn't catch a couple of your streams. It was tied up time for me, so I'm asking legitimately out of ignorance.
It was a goofy week, let's say. 2-1. It was a loss that perhaps did not need to be, and a win that perhaps should not have been.
Okay.
I don't know. I was just kind of throwing caution to the wind and trying shit. Sometimes for better, sometimes for worse. I did a science stream that ended up still pulling out a win at the last second. And then I also had a speed stream that I try to make a science stream, and you don't fucking cross those streams. You can have a speed GAC, you can have a science GAC, you cannot have a speed science GAC.
True. That makes sense.
But got to try some unique stuff.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm sure we'll get into the details here. And yeah, we I did check with Dagger for any notes he had. He said he really didn't play much last week, and with him recovering, he may not even sign up for this week. So again, we're just wishing him well, and hopefully we'll see him in good shape for the preview episode going into the next 5 vs. 5 season. That said, let's go ahead and kick off meta-analysis. First item, gentlemen, Lord Vader clones. You know we have to talk about it. So, Slacker plus Darkrai plus your choice of either Hux or Crew continues to work for people. I've been doing it with Hux. I know that TJ and others have been doing it very successfully with Crew. The banners are comparable. Looks like, in the best case, about a 56. I also had twice last week use Leia Drogon R2. I don't know. I think all of you are probably well aware of it, but for anybody watching that hadn't seen it, I do have the video of it. And you play it as you might expect up until Drogon's first turn, because as I found, it was not difficult to trigger the protection up on Oppo. So when we had our first turn with Drogon, I thought it was most appropriate to do the flamethrower first. The dispel. And so that worked out. And then, from here, with Oppo gone, we pretty quickly manhandle it. The tough part is actually having the fight go long enough in the end, try and get a killing blow with Leia. Because this devolves for them from here.
I will tell you can just do the basic 2 test. So I took your video.
Yeah, you tried it that way
video.
too?
I went the exact opposite. And I was telling Sasha about it too. It's like it doesn't feel in any way. Again, this would be determined by relics and everything else. I took your cron with my setup, and I did the basic. Appo was gone, and we just played the fight the same. You get to go kill your CX2. It felt very comfortable, and I think the ability to get in there and do the work is pretty clean. I would definitely do it again, and I would flex the my Datacron, and I think you'll be just fine.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. The Datacron I used was the Heracron, but you could have a pretty reasonable substitute from the purple set 20. 25% light side turn meter, some offense on it, health. You would be fine. I think you would be fine. Any novel, anything you guys got to discuss about that matchup? Fighting Lord Vader this week. Anything else you tried? I don't know if any of you pulled any Sear Maul Malicos against bulk modded stuff, any of that. I didn't really go for that myself.
I'll throw one out because, as I mentioned, my last match I set quite a bit on D, and so I wanted to try just sort of a planned 2-shot with JML, but I wanted to use JML, Cal, and something other than Jedi Knight Luke. I wanted to use Luke, Mace, and Jolie to take out a Malgus squad. So I went with Shock as the third, thinking that I've got Dispel. I could a little bit of prop regen, whatever, and to try and make sure I could take out at least Oppo and, if possible, all the sides. And I was really impressed with the LV. It might have been Nightfall Trooper or whatever, but Shock was killed within the first 10 seconds of the match. They were and once I lost one of the 2 sides, I had no shot at getting any of their sides out. So that was a hard fail. And one that really kind of dimmed my, I was at least seeing marginal value. I felt out of JML of being able to 2-shot any of these LVs because I had set Leia. I want to be able to set Slicker. I wanted to be able to set the other options. I'm like, well, maybe I can at least piecemeal it down, and JML didn't serve that purpose.
Fair. No, I appreciate you sharing that. Fatal, TJ, anything from you on this?
I did try Seer Malicos Starkiller a couple times.
Yeah.
Although, first time I ended up like running out of time on the match, but it wasn't like a necessary time loss. It was like there was a lot of like slow play and trying to figure out navigate the fight because it was pretty much the opposite of the mall fight. You basically had the tools to be able to go long, and it doesn't feel like you can go long, but I mean, again, like LV dead, like CX2 dead. It was literally just like an Oppo at 10% health when I timed out, so it was literally just a matter of pressing buttons slightly faster. The thing I tried it a second time and I ended up losing pretty badly. They just kept on focusing Malicos, and that was just kind of it. Although I just realized that my Malicos is not on bulk primaries, so you get what you paid for. And in this case, I
sub
fucked up.
100K. You mean?
Let me look. It's like, yeah, he's at like 96,000 protection, 68,000 health, which is yeah. So maybe that's a little bit self-inflicted, but like even if it was a tanky Malicos, it was like it was not a great feeling to say the least. So this might be kind of like a Night Sister situation where like if the AI plays perfectly, then you're sweating bullets and you're getting bulk checked. But if it's like relatively normal, then you're fine.
Okay.
But yeah, it was kind of an interesting because the Starkiller data is way, way, way better than the Maul data.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I can understand why, but holy fuck, is it not comfortable? Because the whole time you're like, why would I ever win this? Because like they're not killing you, but you're not really killing them, and then all of a sudden it was just like the clouds parted. And it's like, oh, they're dying now for reasons I don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
I don't play Malicos though, so maybe the reasons were clearer if you do play that character. But I know he does have like damage ramp.
Yeah, I mean he's ramping. If you have the Omicron for it, he's ramping 20% crit damage and offense. I want to say whenever he's called to assist, might not be remembering that right, but it triggers pretty often.
So maybe that's just it then. You're just buying time and ramping.
Yeah, he's a big boy. I mean, while I'm actually here on screen.
I think he stacks like 5% offense on assist and 20% of each when he does AoE.
Where is it? Gaining when he attacks out of turn, gains 10% crit damage stacking turns. Where am I? I don't know. Where I was the other day. Anyway, the point is yeah, he does ramp, but no, I appreciate you sharing that.
Oh, whenever he scores a critical hit, all their allies gain 5% crit damage and offense until the end of the encounter.
All right.
And also, I'm pretty sure it is 20% of each on his AoE. So you get both of those racking.
There it is.
So that I guess is the game plan. Is you're kind of playing
you'd have to be sufficiently large to take the punches until you had ramped with a decent base of offense to make the waiting worthwhile.
Yeah. What I experienced in my eyes is no different than like if you go in with a squishy Marin and one time she doesn't get focused and you're fine, and one time she does get focused and you lose, and it's like, well, that's okay. I got some due diligence to do. That's on me. I'm not, fussed about it. My Malicos is kind of shit right now. Even for this week now, I'm kind of sad he's a little bit shit. I don't know if I'm going to keep doing that, but
yeah,
definitely
maybe
do better
not for this final week, but I'm sure you'll find effect.
Yeah. We'll be doing more of this in the future, although crucially not with dark side buffs, which I think also could be kind of influencing this counter's effectiveness a bit.
Fair.
Order 66 is flying around. That stops you from getting buzzed, but when you get it, you have it.
Very fair. All right, guys. Related, of course, would be Lord Vader's modding. So I remodded for this week. Now, you'll recall that I swapped into week 2 full bulk modding. All health sets, health primaries, about 517 speed, effectively just over 1,000,000 health at battle start with CX2's Omicron active. I saw, everybody was using something respectable against my Lord Vader, so difficult to tell. But I did speak with Baby Yoda and Aesop Rock here on the side before our recording here, and both of them agreed that higher speed was nice because obviously, it ends up being something on the order of 50 plus speed of difference, which is significant. And in terms of getting just extra turns out, even if they're basic, that's just going to be more unresistible dots applied, if absolutely nothing else that matters. And I want to say Aesop in particular mentioned that when fighting Baby Yoda, the damage from Lord Vader and the threat of him coming around sooner felt very dangerous for him. So I decided to make that switch. I kept the health primaries here, all 4. Now, technically, when we go back over to 5 versus 5, it will be strictly more life total to have protection. But I think, like what Fatal said in a couple recent episodes, whatever ends up producing the most life total for you in general, I think feels all right. Like, it just so happens that I have a host of health mods with really good protection secondaries on them. I'm finding a way to make use of those. And I think I have very little incentive to try and switch it up, even if it's just a little bit more life total in 5 versus 5, because it's my gut that the whole life total angle of Lord Vader means more in 3 versus 3 than it will in 5s. So I'm okay keeping his default primary posture biased towards health instead of protection. What do you guys think? Did you make any changes? Sorry, please.
Until we see Scorch, it's hard to this kind of depends on if Scorch is a tank or if they're still sticking with the LV up front strategy.
Sure.
Like we could easily see an alternative version of CX2 with like Scorch has his own rule set for like 5v5 LV solo tank rules.
Surely.
Everything else, yeah, I agree with. In my case, so I had full health sets in week 1 and still ended up losing to an LV Mom Malicos. So I figured, okay, this isn't really a true damage problem. This is more of an armor problem, and like cut out like 20 or 30k. Like I think I had like 360 or 370k total bulk in week 2, but I jacked up armor significantly. So
are we seeing what you locked in with here?
I'm not sure. Let me look at my high details. I would have remodded anytime since then, but I don't actually know what I locked in with this week.
Yeah, but this seems reasonably representative of what you were just speaking of. Pretty bulked out, pretty tanky. What are we looking at armor-wise? So still over 10k offense. Well, but
yeah, it's 360k total health and 70 armor. So
that's what we got. Yeah, that's pretty brawny.
I did stop a Seer Malicos last week with it, so yeah, I like kind of. It's a good thing that we just looked at Malicos to kind of understand it better, because it does feel like that's kind of at play here. Like I know Malicos does some true damage and Maul does some true damage, but I think at the end of the day, a lot of their pushing power is coming from the Malicos assists on the Maul blasts.
Yes, non-true damage. Yes.
Yeah. So that was kind of the holistic take on week 2, and the team did. I mean, it wasn't like too terribly challenged, but like it died to an SLK once, and that was it. So yeah, I'm just gonna continue to run with this setup until it like makes me question things. But
I appreciate the alternative view. That's great. Any changes from you guys? TJ, Sasha?
I've kept mine thick. It didn't stand up against an SLK or against a Leia. But just chatting with my opponents, it did discourage attempts with Sir Malicos,
Sure.
and you name the third, and that was the purpose I was hoping it would serve.
Yeah, and you have some
Um,
really high offense in here too, almost 12K fight.
he's just not fast.
Right.
I mean, he's just over 500, so that is the trade-off. And yeah, I do wish I had more speed on him, because Aesop's description that came back to you, that kind of resembles my experience, and that I keep in those matches. I'm always paying close attention to the opposing when I'm going against an opposing LV, watching his turn meter bar, and just wanting to be able to beat him to the punch so I can finish it off, or in the JML case, finish a side off. And I've been frustrated with faster LVs. So I wish I had him faster, but he's solidly thick and can hit hard.
Before we move from this item, do you guys think this will probably be something we'll touch back on in a later video, but you think you're going to make the switch to protection for 5 versus 5, or what are your thoughts on primaries? I mean, you're running full protection right now, Fatal, so I guess you have no incentive to change it. I expect you're going to keep it the same. Anybody can respond.
Now, my expectations, I'll go back to a speed fairly neutral between health and protection, and maybe more dependent upon the quality of the secondaries for the various mods. But like, for the reasons I was just saying, I do expect it, even for fives, I'm going to want him sped up. I mean, a little bit still to be determined as to whether he is like required to be the primary tank on that squad based on what we discover with Scorch, because I think that'll probably be the biggest determining factor. But assuming he's either an off tank or is a really well supplemented tank, then I could see wanting to go back to speed.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm back. To answer your question, the protection versus health thing wasn't really like deliberate. I just gave high detail targets for like push me the fuck out for whatever the bests, because the stats are so close for 3v3. I was just like, yeah, I'm just typing in 360k total health and 70 armor and do what you can, and it was able to do it with like it actually pulled a health set with good defense secondaries instead of 3 defense set. For 5v5, I've always kept 3v3 and 5v5 loadouts separate so I can keep this sort of granularity. Where yeah, I mean, what you said about protection should be strictly better in 5v5 so far, pending Scorch. So, whatever you had in the past, I assume will still feel pretty good.
Fair. All right. Appreciate that, guys. Next item. Jocasta New. Early observations. Now, I didn't get to fight one, but I did set it in the first round of last week against Aesop Rock. Bottom front, so he had to make a choice on it. He went with Malgar ISC and scored a 53. So, as a value play, not bad, honestly, for the guy I'm fighting, but nothing impressive. What about you guys?
I faced Rockstar's bottom front, and it was a really smooth boss Grief Mando 57. Maybe there was some risk involved with targeting RNG, like if they had just regularly gone consistently in on Mando and finished him twice. I know I mentioned this in the past in the show, but I had my Mando just fully decked out all defense, and my Mando actually holds up pretty well. But that would seem to be the only risk, and it's super cheap, otherwise not used, and was a clean 57. I did try her once on offense, and that was against. I had low expectations for it, but it was a Ray Ben Ezra comp, and I took a Jocasta. I took a KB Jocasta Barris comp, and did not last long.
Fair. Fatal TJ? And I think you...
I fought it.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I fought it 3 times. I ran bounty hunters 3 times. I actually lost to it once, but funny enough, the reason why I lost had nothing to do with Jedi Vanguards or Jocasta. It was just Mace beating my ass on my OG Mando. As Sasha just said, my Mandalorian, I assume, was not well built, and I would probably corner cut it to shit.
Up there it is.
And
Yep.
so yeah, it was just like Mace Shatterpoint on Mandalorian, Mace swap with like Jocasta or whatever to do more damage. Like everything Jocasta centric into her kit just was off because of Mace being there. But everything in regards to being a GR Jedi and just beating on Mandalorian was 0 protection. That was certainly still in effect.
Fair.
But yeah, broadly speaking, like if you're really worried, I would just like bulk up your Mando, but also next season we should be seeing proper Jocasta. But B, like even if Jocasta pops off and gets her nuke, just run tank revive. Like even if she reduces your boss to 65 and he gets killed, he'll just revive at full anyway. Like, yeah. I don't think Jocasta's worth posting. The whole Ray thing is more for fun than me saying like, hey, it's a legitimate thing. It's just like, for reasons we'll talk about later, I'm in the market for other Ray counters.
Okay.
But there's a lot of people saying that she's bad right now, and I don't understand.
Who, Ray?
No,
Jocasta.
Jocasta.
Oh,
Yeah.
Jocasta. Yeah, I don't know,
Yeah.
man. I mean, I like the damage she can do, but I don't. Yeah, I like the Mace thing. The Mace angle to defeat bounty hunters is fair. I just, I hate the majority of her kit on the table.
That's not a suggestion. That was just more me laughing that like you're better. Like I lost, but not for Jocasta reasons, but because they didn't read Jocasta's kit, and so they made a better choice than it was just like Varys or Shocked either.
And I gladly take the point. Like bitterly, I accept that it might be better to, if everybody's seeing it and it's like, oh, I've got this down pat with Bosk, and Mace is actually going to put the works on it. Fair, just sucks.
I would just still, unless you're relying on opponent ignorance, I would strongly recommend not posting the squad.
Yeah.
They just don't have any real defensive tools. And they have so much to offer you on offense for manually piloting them that, like, I don't know, man. It just seems like an incredibly fun squad to drive too. Like, you tell me Jocasta sucks, go play her on offense and zap something for 400,000 damage and get back to me on how bad it is.
Fair. Yeah. True. It's ridiculous.
Also,
you actually feel like the raid encounter. Sorry, go ahead.
I shouldn't do this, but I'm gonna do this. I'm pretty sure that I will shout out that Keller and Beck plus Jocasta can probably be a power duo for efficiency gameplay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I believe it.
Yeah, can absolutely see that being the case. All right, next item, guys. Darth Sidious. So, is it really worth trying to set a Sidious-proof board? Because he can eat up a bunch of stuff. Turns out, I heard from one of my patrons who's here in the top 100, Kyber 1, he's up by us. He can still kill Balin, as it turns out. As well as Tuskens, Great Mothers, others. When you think about a lot of us up here having both the Sidious Kron and the Dadbod Fennec thing, is there a lot of value in trying to set something against that? Or do you just throw all of that? Like maybe you have 2 or 3 tough teams in the back and then throw a couple draws for that in the back so that it gives them no progress toward fleet and maybe set tougher stuff up top? Like, what do you guys think about that? I mean, with respect to Sidious, but I guess in general, is it really worth trying to pursue setting a board where these things can't be applied?
I'll tell you, like my answer is influenced by the sort of my read of the current meta, or at least the what I saw from a few matches up in the top bracket is that there were there was a lot of bloodshed in most of my matches. I have seen some like really efficient clearing, and the fact that it's so efficient, it kind of works two different ways on SIDS. Like obviously, if somebody can post a 59, that's really nice to get those banners. But if you could just introduce enough risk or variability or something that makes that SID counter a bit risky, then I was comfortable setting it. Like if there was something less than 100% showing on .gg, I was thinking I'm okay with my opponent taking that risk. Now, I should say like that bit me in the ass because in my match with Aesop, where we both threw a ton out on defense, I set a C comp that I knew had SID vulnerability. I was hoping he wouldn't think or wouldn't push the risk, and I set C, Sonastaros, and Savage. And obviously it's an expensive comp, and it was bottom front. And there was some possibility that Savage will self cleanse. Sana can evade a decent amount. But he took that down comfortably with Sidious, and I was kicking myself for not coming up with a better Sid cover on that. So like I guess kind of circling back to it, like I don't obsess over it. I like to just be able to introduce a little bit of risk, but at the same time, like I'm okay if I'm looking for a 15th squad set in Tuscans, even if I know Sid's going to take it, and it removes like that predator out of the ecosystem for everybody else.
Fair.
I'm going to make this very easy because you can go for the question of I'm going to set a such and such proof board, or you lean into it.
Mm-hmm.
You only have one Sid. You only have one setup of Gungans. You can easily overwhelm the odds, backwall your team of all these Sid-proof teams. They're going to choose one, and then the other stuff fails. It's easy. It's an easy setup and an easy way to do the other exploit because everybody's trying to save it. Well, if I show you, I'm going to show you. So I'll show you the C. Like I think Sashika, I think that's great. I'll show you Afra right next to it. Then I'll show you like Great Mothers. I can give you all of these. The Darth Revan. You get to pick 1, 2 Sid. Sure, you're going to get your 59. Other stuff doesn't fail. I'll tell you exactly what happened to me in my round 3. Lo and behold, I used one counter I knew worked, and I didn't have, or I had the other one failed. It was also 100% because that's exactly what can happen. So trying to make the essence of, oh God, it's got to be this proof. You can just go the other way. Lean into it harder. Give them a whole bunch of tough teams. Do a fatal method of you only have so much of one thing, and then you're screwed if the other one doesn't work out just because it's always worked.
The thing that I'll say is I do think tenacity is a viable angle to attack it. I think like if you identify teams that have some high base tenacity and have a tenacity cron and have tenacity mods, I think you can, even by saying this, I make the strategy worse, but you can catch a lot of Sidious owners being lazy, I think, if they're not careful about. And I feel like a lot of people aren't careful these days. Is we're going and doing battles and we're used to what works. But yeah, I think you can catch people flat-footed and just deny them their game plan. Specifically, though, adding that you have to be worried about Sidious damage, not just the dots. You have to make sure that like you're covered on both fronts, but a lot of my tenacity mods are kind of hybrid between tenacity and bulk and defense anyway, so kind of trying to work on both fronts at once.
Okay, I can see that. Okay. Yeah. So, doesn't seem like there's a lot. It's really worth racking your brain to try to set Sidious proof. And if you are going to lean into it, see where you can pick up some tenacity. Nice. About Dadbod and Fennec, then correspondingly, we all know from week 1 that Saw virtually any composition is going to go down. I'm not aware of it really failing. Although I wanted to point out to you guys, sample size of 1 against mine, an opponent scored 54, and that was with Saw, Luthen, and Krex. I had a lot of armor penetration on this cron, disproportionately. And that makes me wonder if there's something even more dangerous to that composition. If I'd put in Kyle instead of Krex, I wonder if a real damage threat to Fennec getting focused down a couple of times is a real thing. So I don't know if you had any controversial fights with Dabod Fennec that almost went south on you. It seems where most people are picking it's pretty safe. Although interesting surprise. Treya Nihilus Savage apparently can kill it. Be killed by it. So, like for full banners at that. So I think it's just a matter of basicking down Treya and then finishing Nihilus immediately thereafter, something like that.
Well, they have instant defeat immunity, so Nihilus is really far less of a threat than you'd expect.
You
Yeah,
don't even
so
really have to think
I
about
did
how
that
to play
once.
it.
And I will say to the Saw counter, that was my experience in week one. Actually, was losing in like the first 30 seconds, losing my Fennec, and it was the first time I'd used the Cyanogenko Kron in the squad, and I threw it in against a Saw Luthen and Kyle Katarn, and they just double wiped my Fennec immediately. And even with that, so I was ready to back out, but it ended up just being the counters from Cyanogenko are so effective that I think I got a 54, 50, probably 53 or 54 on it. And Cyanogenko is just still such a beast task that even though it may not feel good, it ends up getting you there with counters alone.
Fair. Yeah, I haven't been let down so far. Anything else from the rest of you guys about Dabod? Don't know. I think everybody's just kind of flinging it at Saw wherever Saw should appear. And similarly, I don't think it's worth trying to set a Saw proof board. Like we all know that you have it. When you're scouting, so fine, use it here. The alternative would be is if you wanted to make some type of rotation for Saw to counter their Queen, because that has proven to be effective here in 3 versus 3. Maybe not so surprising. It was effective in the previous 5 versus 5 season for it. And now we have a more tailored cron for them. So, yeah, it's working out. If your opponents are anybody like me that's having Queen almost entirely on defense this season, then Saw is actually going to be a good value for you. All right. So, aside from that, next item, Great Mothers. Proving flexible on offense, convenience against Malgus teams. I know that we were keeping it against Queen. I think if you have enough health on your Great Mother's Cron so that your Morgan can take the variety of burst damage that she'll have to endure early on underneath her protection, then you can still use that to counter Queen. But I used it effectively against Malgus Malik Savage this week. And I've heard from several members in my Discord community here that it's able to take on Ahsoka Tano teams, even with Exile Ezra present. The conditions are you need Morgan to be effectively, so with Great Mother's speed from leadership figured in, faster than Exile Ezra, and you want to doom the non-Ezra side character, so mostly Huyang. Doom Huyang, bless Morgan, blow up Huyang, doom, you mass assist onto Huyang, doom Exile Ezra, and proceed from there. And apparently it should work. So I'm curious about giving that a go, but I do feel that it's still the right track to mostly keep her for offense. What do you guys have to say about Great Mother?
I like her either way. So I could see easily doing either of the 15, right? On offense, I feel like there's a lot of utilization for a lot of places. I saw you do it. I know I saw some of the other people do it as well. As far as the streamers, I could be fine either way because there's good crons to back them up and you can mix it. I'll tell you when I saw that was interesting. Vexatron, so old opponent, we did it. He took what would be Darth Revan. So I don't know setups, I don't know anything else. It was against Queen with Zombie, and his Darth Revan failed. And we're talking the correct thing with the right cron. So don't know any of the other mechanics, but that's cool to see. That will always be the 100% minus, barring any other details, a fail kick in. And then on the offense side, I think you're right, Tess. That's cool hearing about Ahsoka. Was not aware of that one, and I'll have to go look up the data to see if there's anything to contribute to it. But even if you don't want to go there, it goes in so many places and it kills a lot of teams. And with what my opinion is, good banners up to one of the top defensive staples of Queen. That feels like a great strategy. If I could put it either way, and I'm still going to be satisfied with the result, is it's going to pull something heavier, or it's going to be I need to kill Queen. I don't want to do a mess with the Treya or something else heavy, and it's going to do its job.
All right, I can feel that. Appreciate you. Any other thoughts there? Otherwise, we will move on to DR Zalbar on defense. Now, I haven't been doing this last week. I found effective uses against, obviously Great Mothers, but what else was it? There was another couple of things. DR Zalbar against, Fugitive Omega for 56. Many people, myself included, still having that on defense, so free money to them. But Fatal, this was a topic from you. You have some thoughts about applying this team on defense here in week 3?
Yeah, there's been a few of us who were working on posting the team very, very turbo, like plus 170 range, just to put more pressure on Gungans and get some defensive holes, and it is working to some degree. It's been working for other people better than it has for me, but even when I lost this week, the boss Nas was dead, so there was bleed. I think in my case, I'm running a hybrid of turbo plus damage, and while you certainly do need to care about your damage, I think it's a function of your speed is putting pressure on that generator, but your overall bulk also puts pressure on the generator just by virtue of staying alive for longer for more attempts to whack it. And so I would suspect that the lower quality results that I've been getting, still dropping some battles, would have to do with that lesser bulk that I'm still, like, even my Zalbar is got crit damage triangle and shit. So yeah, I just wanted to point out that there's some good results happening here. It's an opportunity to possibly rob 20 banners in a pseudo power team. So yeah,
Right. I dig that. Appreciate
And
it.
Fatal, that's assuming they're throwing Tarpals as a third, or Phalanx, or works the same with
Tarpals.
either third.
I don't know that I've seen
Yeah.
Phalanx,
Okay.
but
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right. So you're just setting it then bottom front then, are you? Because if you're like, go ahead and Gungans anyway, then where else would you set it?
I don't know if it's necessarily bottom front. I don't exactly remember.
Okay.
I feel like a lot of people's default reaction is to Gungan anyway, so I don't feel like it's necessarily having to be bottom front to earn that. It's like, even if that's showing top front, that'll still be like, ooh, there's a DR, let me Gungan that.
Okay. I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, almost any position for any team can be good as long as it's, as long as you could justify it, right? As long as there's a cogent reason for why it's there. So, yeah, I like that. Next item, Seer Malikos, Star Killer on defense. Yeah, I'd been considering this in a situation where if I want to keep Slacker and Leia, it seems more and more likely that Seer Malikos and something like Star Killer with it. And by the way, I have checked into this. The win rates on defense are much more impressive with Star Killer than with Maul. So if you are inclined to put Seer Malikos on defense, if it's between those two for the third, let it be Star Killer. And again, this was another item from you, Fatal. So what are you thinking here?
No, the opponent posted me on this last week, or posted this against me last week, and it was really just like, yeah, the statistical anomaly was pretty clear. That it was just in terms of non-GL counters, it is Bane or go fuck yourself. And so to that degree, obviously, to be clear, if your opponent is holding Sith Eternal Emperor, C will just solo this. So this is not a risk-free opportunity, but I do think there's something to be said for strategic placement and front wall, back wall shit that you could catch your opponent unawares with a pretty decent opportunity here. I know Seer Malikos has been Seer Starkiller Malikos. It's so much easier to say Maul. It just rolls off. That's crazy.
It is.
I know that's been like a staple on offense forever, but like it just never crossed my mind to consider on defense, just because Starkiller has been so like core uncuttable for me.
Hmm.
But yeah, I figure it's easily worth throwing in. It's just like, hey, if you're searching for novelty, and especially like teams like this that show up with data this decisive are pretty damn rare.
Hmm.
Even if I'm not saying like, hey, everyone should go out and try this, I'm not saying that at all. Like you absolutely have to make sure that your offense is covered for. But yeah, no, it's a high performer. It's interesting.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
I'll
please,
the
please,
importance
Sasha.
of placement, because I did set it, and as I mentioned, I went in my last round, really honestly just looking to have fun and make the front wall stimulating. So it was up there with 6 GLs and that, and I can't remember, maybe it was like a Malagus squad I set up front, and yeah, I mean a few other things, I can't recall what else, but by not placing it in the back, I think I could have easily drawn C. I think I just as much as anything assumed Aesop would set C, but it was one that I think like could have turned the match had I put it in the back wall instead of bottom front. Because like just as Fatal said, I mean, I think the like solid counter options are really limited. I I faced a couple of over the last 2 weeks. I faced a couple Sear Malicos Mall squads, and I was able to sid those pretty comfortably. And that's at least I didn't try it against a Star Killer. I didn't see one, but the data wasn't good with it. And yeah, I mean, yeah, it cost me a Star Killer squad separately, but yeah, it's not to be trifled with.
Fair, fair. All right. I think that wraps up our topics here for meta analysis. Next segment, gentlemen. Best attack and defense of the week. I'll step up first. I guess it's mostly going to be about attack. Let me see. Man, this was rough. I did Balin against Ahsoka here with Cal and Watt. You're thinking, he has it bottom front. He's conceding that it isn't a great comp. I don't know if I'm going to have a better use for Balin elsewhere. And I got to tell you, there were several points in that fight that felt terrible, and we limped out of there for a 52. So I don't know about that. Not breaking the mold here by telling you guys that BKM against Afra has been great. So if you're able to set up the fork like that, right? So Afra up front, JMK in the back, stuff like that, something to consider. Yeah, I already mentioned the Leia counter that worked out nice. Yes. Seer Malico's Star Killer failed for me. We just got held back by the defense on here. Because of the 100% defense on this Zalbar Kron, I thought it was to my advantage to take a Kron that I had that had about 50% health on it, and then 150 something percent armor penetration. I thought I was doing myself a big favor there against the. In the end, I think compared to my other fights recently, I would have preferred to go with a blend of armor penetration and crit damage, armor penetration and offense. Certainly try to cut through some of that defense, but in the end, there were a couple points in the fight where I lacked enough damage to land a killing blow when it's usually killing blow time for those guys. So something to keep in mind if you're fighting this Ray comp with the Zalbar there. It's the only Kron in the game currently with defense. So see. Enoch against Fugitive Omega is humbling for the amount of effort that I put into that team. Yeah, see Treya Talon. This was an interesting back wall, right? Aesop sent this against me, and I needed to use Inquisitors to try and make it work. Got it down to Sith Eternal. Obviously, he eventually got loose, popped ultimate, came around, put us down. It was bad. So yeah, JKR versus Hondo. Man, you'd think JKR, Jedi Cal, JKL could take this on, but I would say more than any other composition here for this Nest and Smuggler Kron, probably the best use for Nest outside Array, in my opinion. aside from that, yeah, got hoed out on Executrix versus Executor, as one does. Managed to 3-shot that. And against Aesop here, I was able to draw kind of what I thought, but not in a way that mattered for the back wall, because in the end, the only thing he had to struggle through was Ahsoka without Ezra. And the first drop felt good. The second drop, seeing it just remaining with Ahsoka, was like, oh, well, he's going to get through. And then he got through, having BKM the whole time. So, yeah. That's the story of that. I think round 3, round 2 doesn't count. And then round 3, I think we'd all agree there's not a lot interesting that happened defensively for either of us when we both posted 2069. But how about you, TJ? Favorite attack and defense?
Honestly, man, it was a slow week. I'll just go. The defense is the defense right now. I don't really feel like doing anything else. What I did have fun doing was figuring out where to use like a solo Jabba. That was cool. Seeing other things, and then the two-manning the various setups that people are doing with the smugglers. Getting the 2-man with Malgus for a 58. Malgus Malik, take it in with some good stuff and just 58ing, and I stay consistent. So if you did, let's say my split was going to be D Team G on 1, and then I would see another comp. Usually Sanahan Chewy. You really can't D Team G that one from what I saw in the notes, but Malgus Malik was doing work at all times, and I did never feel like I was in a bad spot. So unfortunately, sorry, there's not more fun to go off of, but that felt pretty solid.
Yeah, going after any of these smuggler teams, that's definitely not new that Malgus works, but nice to know that the Underman proved reliable. So
Yeah.
appreciate you sharing. No other defensive notes though to share this week. Everybody was pretty clean on you.
Everybody was the same stuff. What held was I don't know, surprise. LV held.
Okay.
Other than that, yeah, it was doing the same stuff, and then because my counter failed, that's how I ended up losing. So again, not against the opponent, nothing else. He played it correctly, but the 100%ers didn't 100%. So you take your lumps and you keep on moving.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right, Sasha Aisha, how about you? Favorite attack and defense of the week?
I'll say one goofy little cheesy one that I got to use was the Gidme, using that against the Treya. I had one of the new Datacron set that starts with like some protection up, and it worked really smoothly. Again, I think that was against Aesop, against Treya, Nihilus, Savage, and it's goofy, it's old school. It was frankly like more nostalgic, but it was fun to do. Um, and another squad that I threw out there that I suspect Gidme food, but it drew JML against Rockstar was I actually put a Nihilus, Treya, Talon squad with Talon and Talon 9 and bonus turn for Sith on level 6, and it at least drew a JML counter. So that was kind of fun. The other thing that I'll add, we were talking about like SID proof boards. And I realized one thing I think both Aesop and I did independently was we set Balin squads that had Balin, Sin, and Hunter, with Hunter, Merc, Kron. And I think each of us did it because the data on Sid counters against it was like really pretty good from a defensive standpoint. Like it was like 5% success rate, whereas like I think Sid does decently against a lot of other Balin comps. And I think both of us felt pretty smart about it, and then realized that Gungan steamroll it, and then felt less smart about it. So yeah, I guess that's the pros and cons of at least Sid proofing one squad, was that you just made it Gungan food. So yeah, those
Sure.
are at least ones worth noting from my side.
All right, no, appreciate that. Fatal, how about you? Favorite attack and defense of the week?
I already kind of hit on a lot of the stuff I would have said here just from talking about the topics. Yeah, I don't know, man. Defenses and offenses are pretty boring for the most part right now. That I'm very eager for the smuggler cron to go away, just so that people will actually like put some thought into what they're posting again, rather than a wall of purple that just dies to DTMG and Enoch and anything with a locked red debuff. Yeah, I don't know. Mostly just Gungans losing to DR. Kind of cute. I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, my Ahsoka held to like a Bane, cool. Ahsoka held to SLK, cool. I don't know. The biggest issue right now is that my rank is tanked a bit. That I'm also not fighting teams at the level we're used to talking about here, and to some degree as well.
Fair. Okay, yeah. All right. Well, if you have no other notes on that, then that wraps up best attack and defense. And we're moving quick with that dagger tonight. It brings us back around to takeaways and final thoughts. For me here in week 3, yeah, the light, the stuff that we've basically come to see as light duty, I think has to come up, and I have to take more risk, really uncomfortable risk, because I'm saying that things like Malgus don't even feel great right now. So certainly the smugglers have got to go. Fugitive Omega may be gone. Yeah, I really have to give that some thought, because I tried to put together a defense that was going to get a hold or so out of Michael, and I was very lucky that we were able to tie. He could have easily just gotten that one more banner, and I would have been had. So I really, and I still had a few of those teams that I'm mentioning down on defense. So I really have to reconsider whether they have any business being there here for this last week. Aside from that, really cool to see the Leia being manageable. It didn't seem dangerous at any point versus Lord Vader. I have some more flexibility now about how I want to do Slacker. I think having Slacker and JMK together on defense in the back as a pair is really worth considering. If I can set both, I think that's what I might try to go for. But yeah, it's going to be more defense in general. The question is, do I front load it, which would be different than my style for most of the week. I've been mostly drawing choices up front, challenge teams in the back. Might flip the script here, but it feels like a script, flip the script kind of moment. I had a couple opponents, certainly a few patrons tell me about their opponents flipping things up based on practicing a completely different style of play the week prior. So, yeah, I think it's a good time because everything else feels very, very solved. It does feel a little stale in that sense. Otherwise, it's going to be potentially a boring week. TJ, how about you? Takeaways, final thoughts.
Yeah, man, it is just where we're at right now. I got some things I might want to try, just based on the last things, but I'm just hoping for more things to come in 5s. I'm kind of waiting for 5s at this point. I think we were all waiting the same thing. I think we've all pretty much beat this one down as to the 3s is the efficiency of what it's going to be. I don't know, no matter how hard you post it. So I'm just kind of just treading water now. We'll get to 5s. Hopefully we'll have all 5 characters. LV will be fun, and we'll see where we get. Because 5s has definitely felt like a much more enjoyable setup right now.
Mm-hmm. All right, fair enough. Sasha, Aisha, how about you? Your takeaways, your final thoughts, pearls of wisdom, people.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm in a similar spot where I feel like I'm stretching for defensive viability, and the options that I see that are most appealing are ones that feel good in terms of like me just looking at my defense set and saying that, hey, wow, that is cool, that will be challenging, and then feel miserable when I just look at the proposition of going against somebody else's offense because I've lost my viable, like, I don't know, Ray-Ban Ezra or LV counters if I set everything. So, yeah, so a challenging meta on that front. I do want to spend a little time trying to see if I can get creative with stuff because it feels bad, man, to not get more than like one stop or something on it. And then yeah, it also kind of leaves me thinking I always cheese fleets. I don't really enjoy playing fleets. I was like, so I cheese it almost all the time, and I'm like, maybe now's the right time to pivot on that and just throw everything on like do a full meta fleet defense this week because I'm grasping at any defensive straws I can find. So that's kind of where I am. But I guess it's not an unusual stage going into week 3 of a season. So, so be it.
Fair. All right, Fatal. How about you? Takeaways, final thoughts, lessons learned for the folks at home.
It's a weird time to be sure. This does feel like an efficiency season, but it doesn't feel like there's nowhere to go either. What this really feels like to me is that kind of what I said last week. If you're a heavy defense poster, you're kind of still playing by old 3v3 rules, where 3v3 can be a challenging mode with a lot of like major threats, especially now major threats. And so yeah, this feels like a weird seesaw where like I do think I could post a decently menacing board if I could just answer certain questions on offense, but I'm kind of constrained by what has made 3v3 for so long is those threats stay threatening and they aren't exactly easy for me to solve. So while I do think that this is a cheesy meta, there's work to be done to like try to dig it out, and maybe some of the pressure will be eased by like maybe Mace will come in and solve a problem for me or make a better defense for me. But it's been kind of a weird week because if anything, I've had to pull stuff just to make sure that LV goes down. And so my board was already like clean clearable if an opponent did their homework. And then I'm just posting like gas and Tuskens to boot it. Like it's terrible. We all know how that's just gonna go, but it's just like that's counting to 15.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely just a weird. I was happy to walk out with a 2-1 last week for given my general position in the meta. Does not feel good, but I don't know. I think I'm just going to continue to try to work on ideas and see if I can not necessarily like do super well this season, but like find some things that will give me a little more leverage in the future.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. Yeah. It'll be a different world when we're coming back to 3 versus 3. That set 20 will be gone, so something to look forward to. It will be shaken up. Before we let you go here, as the only other content creator on the podcast, where can the good folks find you?
Twitch.tv/PlaybookTV.
Yeah. All right, guys, we've made it to the end. Appreciate you guys showing up. And yeah, for everybody watching, you can find me streaming live at twitch.tv/Tassinix. My YouTube channel is Tassinix Gaming, where you can find a whole bunch of Slugger-related content, not the least of which being my Datacron set guide videos for sets 20 and 21. Make those with Aesop Rock, one of the very finest to have ever done it. Great insights from those. Got the mod guide videos on characters and factions that you've asked about, how to mod series, JC Omicron tier list, whole bunch of great stuff. Not to mention a rebroadcasting point for this very podcast, Plotting and Scheming. It is native to Spotify, but wherever you find an episode of the podcast, check the description. There is a link that you can use to plug into your preferred podcast program and follow us there. Anything that you like over there on the YouTube channel, please do hit like on the video, hit subscribe if you want to see more, and really appreciate all that support. Aside from that, if you want to go above and beyond the Call of Duty, there are a few ways to support the channel. I do have a Cash App that is $Tassinix. I have PayPal, which is tassinix@gmail.com. And if you want to get some, upgraded tools to improve your scouting game, early access to some of my content, and of course, a couple other fringe benefits, you'll have to check out my Patreon. patreon.com/Tassinix. For any upperly mobile Grand Arena player, I believe there is something of interest for you. $5 a month gets you into the Task House at VIP Access Plus, where you get early access to the Plotting and Scheming podcast. My patrons are getting it as early as Tuesday night, whereas our general audience is getting that first thing in the morning, 8 a.m. on Fridays. So in addition to that early access, you also get it for my Datacron set guide videos, and of course, dedicated text and voice chat on Discord, where you will usually find me lurking. So pop on in and say hi. Thank you so much to Andrew, Banja, Deadpool Cow 28, JJ's Productions Twitch, Jobin4527, Miasmal, Mus Ross, Raise Malvis, Sam Vimes, Sheepdog 47, Squed, Stark Strategy Gamer, Sweens 14, and White Wolf. Moving on up to the $10 a month tier is VIP Access Plus, where you get a bundled Patreon access to me and to your choice of either OmegaBot or Hot Utils. If you're a regular viewer of my stream, then you know at the start of each one, I always show an OmegaBot report on my opponent. No other tool gives you such a powerful at-a-glance understanding of your opponent's offensive and defensive tendencies. And even though anybody could use the tool to, completely for free, pull their opponent's last week of history, only patrons can build a custom report with any number of weeks. You get a downloadable HTML version with links that you can click going right back into Swugga.gg and Insight, further helping you drill down on the questions that you're finding as you scout, saving you more time. The other option, of course, is you could take on Hot Utils, which is the #1 tool for your mass mob management and loadout creation. No other tool lets you move between your Grand Arena, TB, TW, raid mods so effortlessly. You can use it like TJ and Fatal do to comprehensively remod your rosters on a weekly basis. You can slice through hundreds of mods in seconds, to say nothing of all the TW functionality for your guild. So, no wrong way to go there, but thank you for everybody at VIP Access Plus. That is Dobby, Esh Sotnikam, Meow for Me, Vinny GK, Floon, Shake23501, Single Malt Jedi, Snack Attack, and Striker. And at VIP Access Premium, this is $15 a month for the double bot bundle. So if you couldn't choose between either one of those at the previous tier, you can have both at this tier. So Patreon access to me, OmegaBot, and Hot Utils. If you were trying to buy those tools separately, I don't think you can do it cheaper than that. So that's why they say it is one of the best value bundles in all of Swugga. Thank you so much to Argots, Arj, Big Ninja, Duckstab, Darth Link, Dark Hug, Rick Frack Paddywhack, General Milan, Ibanek, Johnny B. Ottawa, Kev, Pills, Wig, Saldag, Sir Boss, Sophus, The Lost Womp Rat, Wilco, and Zoltre. Of course, at the top of the list here in Jester's Club Elite, the one, the only Nomad's Reaper. This madman pops in the stream from time to time, drops thousands of biddies, hundreds of subs, all in one go. Just goes nuts with it, and he's done it several times over the years, so really appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for the very generous support. And of course, last but never least, our special thanks. First to Yoda Force, one of my original supporters way back in the day, bought me the mic that I'm speaking to you on right now, and even though he's long since quit the game, we wish him well from the side. To Mrs. T, my wife, thank you for all you do in the background, whether it's, bringing me alcohol on stream or coffee, or just keeping our daughter from ripping our home apart brick by brick while I'm trying to be halfway decent at a phone game. And of course, to Dagger, TJ, Sasha Aisha, and Fatal, my co-hosts here on Plotting and Scheming. Gentlemen, as always, it's a pleasure and a privilege to record our show together. I appreciate you guys carving out the time on a weekly basis despite your busy work and family schedules. We are practically 2 years in. I want to say it's here this month that we hit the mark. I'll check the exact date, scrolling back through the archives. But I do believe we're just about 2 years in on this show. I learn from you guys every week. Hopefully the feeling is occasionally mutual. But regardless, our community learns a ton from us. A lot of great engagement, questions around the show, conversation. And I have you guys to thank for making the show the success that it is. So appreciate you guys so much. Moving back over to the main scene, we have survived week 2. It's time to wrap things up. We've got, pretty solid understanding of what works against what going into week 3. So what risks are you willing to take to try and upset your opponent's expectations? We'll see if any surprises were had when we meet next week. And until next time, it's been real. It's been awesome. Been real awesome. Take care.